So can you confirm that you can see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So in our previous class last week, we had started discussing about how to solve the flow field, and we noted that there are a few major difficulties. So what were these difficulties? One was that the pressure field is unknown, and there was no direct equation. There is no direct equation for pressure. Okay. Then there are two other difficulties. One is that the momentum equation is non-linear because of presence of terms like u, 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 v, like these terms. Okay, so and they are coupled also. So each of the momentum equation has other variables in it. For example, u momentum equation has v, w, and pressure p. Similarly, v momentum equation has u and w and pressure P. So all of the equations are coupled, so they cannot be individually solved because you need to know the other variable values also. So they need to be solved together. So we have four equations: continuity plus three momentum equations and four unknowns: u component of velocity, v component, w component, and pressure P. Okay. So this second and third point, we had noted that this is not so difficult to tackle if we go for iterative process. We can just use the previous iteration value for part of the value. So for example, one u can be taken from the previous iteration, so you will be left with one unknown u, and by solving we can update the u, and then we will use it again as a known u and keep on iterating until there is no more variation in the values. Okay, so like using like this type of terms u star u and u star v, we have discussed these things. So coupled case also we can solve similar way. However, the main difficulty we noted was in solving the pressure because there is no equation for pressure. So we need some very clever way to devise an equation for pressure based on the continuity equation, and it needs to be very clever because the continuity equation does not have any pressure term. So somehow we have to relate an equation which does not have any pressure term to make it an equation of pressure, which is not very straightforward. Okay, so some clever algorithm needs to be invented or devised for that, and has been devised for that. Okay, that is what we are going to study today. Couple of algorithms on how the pressure equations have been derived. So how a pressure has been related to the continuity equation. Okay. We also noted few other difficulties. One was that if we use the normal control volumes, the pressure gradient terms dp dx was giving us unrealistic values. Okay, it was not taking the grid point value itself, it was taking the neighboring values, and as a result, if we had fluctuations like this 110 means the grid point value was different and the neighboring values were totally different. The pressure gradient term calculated by our scheme will result in a value of 0, although it is clear from the figure that there is a huge pressure gradient. Okay, so it was giving us wrong information. Same thing also we noted for continuity equation, that if we solve the continuity, if we discretize the continuity equation, we just get in terms of the neighboring values, we don't get the grid point value. And as a result, if there are huge fluctuations like this, so because the grid point value is not taken into account, only the neighboring values are taken into account, this type of unrealistic velocity profile also satisfies the continuity equation in our discretized scheme. Although in real life this is totally unrealistic. So these were some of the drawbacks. Okay, and these type of problems are also present in 2D and 3D, although we have taken the example of 1D. Excuse me. So we found an option to avoid this type of problems, and this option is to use a staggered grid. Okay, so what was the staggered grid? Staggered grid was that the main control volume, say the control volume for P. Okay, we had noted that for the control volume for, or the main control volume, just repeat this part, we have already discussed. So if this is the main control volume, this will store all the scalar values. Scalar values means pressure, temperature, density, conductivity. Okay, all these values. However, for the velocity values, we will move the grid points by half a grid. For example, instead of storing the velocity here at this grid point and for this control volume, we will make the velocity control volume like this. This will become the velocity control volume for the u velocity. We will shift it by half control volume towards the left hand side, and this will be the corresponding velocity grid point. This will be the velocity grid point, which is at the center of the face of the main control volume. So it is at the face of the main control volume. The center of the velocity control volume is at the face of the main control volume. Similarly, at the other face of the main control volume, we have the center of the other velocity control volume like this. Okay. So when we solve the momentum equations, the idea is that we will be using these staggered control volumes. Okay. So for this momentum, for the u momentum equation, our control volumes will be like this. Okay, not the main control volumes. So this, if we solve for this control volume, so if this is p, our neighboring velocities are this velocity, there will be another velocity here, okay, and another velocity here. So based on these four neighboring velocities, we will solve the equation. Okay, so we will solve on a staggered control volume. Similarly, for the V1, V control volume was staggered in the y direction. Okay, and the main advantage of this was that now if you want to calculate the pressure gradient for the velocity, so remember the pressure gradient is present in the momentum equation, right? In the momentum equation, we have dp dx term. So we have the term in the momentum equation. Okay. So and the momentum equation control volumes are staggered. Okay, this is the control volume for the momentum equation. So if you want to integrate dp dx over this control volume, I will get only p at this point minus p at this point. Okay, and we already have the p at this point, so we don't need to interpolate because we are storing the p at this point. So we will just write it as pw minus pp. Okay, so we don't need to interpolate, so there won't be any issue like previously where we had to interpolate. Okay, so directly we can get the pressure gradient effect, and the pressure gradient will drive the velocity. Okay, so that problem will not arise, and later we will see that the continuity equation problem also will not be there, because when we discretize the continuity equation, we will discretize over the main control volume for the continuity equation, because we want to solve for pressure, and pressure is stored in the main control. In that case, the velocity components are already present at the face. So we will be just using the, like for the term du dx, like what was causing the problem, du dx. So we had to take the value at face, ue minus uw, right? That was causing the problem, ue minus uw. So in this case, it will not cause any problem because we already have the value of ue and uw. We don't need to interpolate the value of ue and uw because we already are storing the values here. We can easily calculate du dx. Okay. So this is why staggered grid is very useful. The only drawback of using staggered grid is that you need, so there are two drawbacks. One is that more computational effort is needed, okay, because you need to store different types of control volume, main control volume, then U control volume, V control volume, W control volume, okay. And the second problem is that it cannot be defined for unstructured grid. So if you have a structured grid, like in the x direction we are varying the grids by 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. In the y direction we are varying the grids 1, 2, 3, 4. So if it is nicely arranged, then only we can offset by half grid point in the x direction and y direction. If I have an arbitrary grid like this, so if I have some just triangles like this, okay, this is an arbitrary grid, okay, this is known as unstructured grid. So I can have unstructured grid like this. So there is no x and y direction. So you don't know in which direction to offset, because there is no x and y direction. You cannot offset in any direction. And this type of grids are generated when you directly automatically generate grids in ANSYS. You sometimes generate this type of unstructured grids. And in unstructured grids, you cannot have staggered. Control volumes because there is no x and y direction for the grids. Okay, so there needs to be other mechanisms to avoid those problems, which we will not go into in this course. It is beyond the scope of the course, but there are other mechanisms to avoid the problems. Okay. So now let us look at couple of algorithms for solving the flow equations. With this background, let us look at a couple of algorithms to solve the flow equations. Any questions? No questions. You can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the first algorithm is known as simple semi-implicit method for pressure linked equations. So this is a short form of that semi-implicit method for pressure linked equation. Okay, because it is based on pressure, so that's why it is known as pressure linked method. Okay, basically it's based on the pressure calculation of pressure from the continuity equation. So they have given the acronym simple so that it is easier to remember. It was devised by, you must have read about Patankar's book. So it was devised by Patankar's PhD guy Spalding in the 1960s. Okay, when Patankar was a PhD student. And the second algorithm that we are going to study, simpler, that also Patankar devised himself when he was a PhD student, graduate student. So at that young age only he devised, and it has become very popular. And so these were like great steps forward in the field of CFD at that time. Because at that time there were no good algorithms for solving the flow equations. Okay, people used just vorticity type of equations to solve the velocity field. So anyway, let us consider a 3D case, and we will just consider the U momentum equation, because anyway we are not going to develop the code in this course. I will just describe the algorithm, okay, in a brief manner, because developing the code is too difficult for a flow equation at this point. It's not as easy as developing the code for, say, energy equation. Okay, so we will consider a 3D case, but we will only consider the U momentum equation, and we will note that similar method can be used for solving the V and W momentum equation, but we will see how the pressure also is obtained. Okay. So if I go back to the momentum equation, if you go back to the momentum equation, this is the momentum equation. Okay. Del del T of rho U plus del X of rho U plus del Y of rho VU plus del Z of rho W is equal to mu del square U del X square plus mu del square U del Y square plus mu del square U del Z square minus del P del X plus body force term dx. Okay, this is the U momentum equation, X momentum equation. So if you discretize this, okay, this equation is similar to which equation? This is exactly similar. So for example, this equation, momentum equation, general momentum equation, it is similar to our convection diffusion equation with source term and unsteady term. If you remember the convection diffusion equation, we had the same form. Okay, we had the same form. Let me see where I have it. Okay, so this equation, it has the same form, del del T of rho phi. Instead of phi we have U, del dot rho U phi. So again instead of phi we have another U, del dot gamma del phi. So instead of gamma we have mu, and instead of phi we have U. So phi is basically U, the vector U, and the source term V. So only extra term is the pressure gradient minus gradient of P. That was not present here, and we will not put it as a source term because pressure is unknown. Okay, so we will put it as a separate term. Otherwise all the terms are similar. So it means that, so there is a, so why I am showing you this connection, because if you know the pressure gradient, okay, if you know the pressure gradient correctly by some means, okay, so somebody has told you the pressure gradient, or by experiment you have obtained the pressure gradient, or by analytical solution you have obtained the pressure gradient, then solving the momentum equation is no difficult task. Okay, then because this form is the same form, and if you know the pressure gradient, we can put it in the source term. We can just discretize it based on any of the known methods like upwind scheme or hybrid scheme or power law scheme. Any of the known scheme we can use to solve the equation, to discretize the equation. And what will you obtain after discretization? You will obtain an equation like this. AUE is equal to summation ANB UNB plus B. Okay, plus B. So this term will learn if you already know the pressure gradient. Okay. Pressure gradient is unknown, we are having some difficulty. If the pressure gradient was known, we would have a normal equation like this. So for the velocity UE, for this velocity UE, let me go back to the large screen here. For this velocity UE, we would have a control volume like this. Okay, this would have been our control volume for the velocity UE. Sorry. So this would have been the control volume, and the neighboring velocities would have been this velocity, this and this. So I could have written coefficient of UE, AE into UE like AP phi P like that is equal to summation of over all the neighboring points ANB, UNB. So values of all the phi values, phi is here are the U values, okay, plus B. I could have written like this. Only thing is that the pressure is creating one extra term. Okay, so let us see what is that extra term. So otherwise the equation will be of similar form as the previous equation that we have derived. Okay, AP phi P is equal to summation ANB phi NB plus B. So for the pressure term, pressure is minus dP dx for the x direction. Okay, if we integrate it over the three-dimensional control volume, I can write it as minus dP dx into dy into dz. This will be equal to AE into PP minus P. So if you integrate it over the x direction, you will get PP minus PE. Okay, because the gradient is along the x direction, you will get minus of gradient along the x direction is PP minus P, and then for the y and z direction you will just get delta y and delta z because there is no variation along the y and z direction. Okay, so delta y. So ultimately you will get, for a 1D problem you will get 1 into PP minus P. For a 2D problem you will get delta y into PP minus P. Okay, so this length into PP minus P, basically the cross sectional area into the pressure difference. Okay, this will be the pressure force. If it is a 3D problem, we will get delta y into delta z, which is again the cross sectional area into the velocity, the pressure difference. So ultimately integral of del P minus del P del x can be written as AE into PP minus P, where AE is the coefficient of PP minus P, and AE can be written as 1 for a 1D problem, delta y for a 2D problem, and delta y delta z for a 3D problem. Delta x, delta y, delta z are the grid spacing in the xyz direction. Remember that PP and PE are unknown. Okay, they are also part of the unknown. So we have U as unknown, UNB as unknown, UE is unknown, and PP and PE are unknown. B is known because it's a source term. Okay. So P is unknown, hence the pressure source term is not included in B, as I have already mentioned. Okay. So this is our momentum equation, discretized momentum equation. This will be the form of the discretized momentum equation. Now, how you derive this summation A and B, U and B, it is up to you. You can use the hybrid scheme, upwind scheme, any of the schemes that we have discussed. In the same way, you can derive this A and B, U and B term. Okay. Only thing extra that is coming is this A into PP minus P. Okay. Otherwise, it is the same form as AP phi P is equal to summation A and B phi N B. And this will include the Peclet number effect, all these effects. Okay. Any questions up to this point? Or is this clear? Or if you don't understand, please let me know. We have sufficient time to discuss in detail. Okay. So if you don't understand anything, please let me know. Although it is as part of your course, you are not going to write the code for this, but at least you should know how these algorithms work, because these are the algorithms that are used in the commercial softwares. Simple, simpler. Other algorithms are also there, like Simplex and Piso, which is not part of this course, but I will teach in CMTFE course in the 4th year, those for the dual degree students and MTech students. But in this course, we have the simple and simpler algorithm. Anyway, then as I was mentioning, if P is known or is given to us, okay, so I will keep the discretized equation open here. My drawing with my mouse is horrible, so you have to bear with that. So if P is known or given to us, we can directly solve equation 1. This is equation 1. Okay, we can directly solve equation 1 to get the values of U. Similarly, we can calculate the value of V and W. Remember, we have to take iterative, we have to make iterations to avoid the non-linearity. However, if P is unknown, we have to calculate the value of P also. And that is where the difficulty comes in. And for solving the value of P, we have to use the additional equation, the continuity equation, to obtain the value of P. So now we have to see how to get this value of P from the continuity equation. Okay. If we get the value of P, we know that we can easily solve the momentum equation. So let us design an algorithm. Okay. Let us start with a guess pressure P star. Okay. Let us start. So let us assume that we don't know anything. We don't know what is the velocity and what is the pressure. We'll start with a guess pressure, any random pressure, guess pressure for all the points. Okay. So for this point, say pressure 10 kPa, 10 kPa, 10 kPa. Everywhere I am starting with a guess pressure field, or 0 kPa or 100 kPa, whatever. Just random guess pressure. Now the guess need not be very random. Sometimes based on the boundary condition, it is easier to take the guess based on the boundary condition. If we know that the boundary pressure is atmospheric pressure, we may take the guess pressure as 1 atmospheric pressure everywhere. Okay. But if there is no information regarding pressure, we can take any guess pressure, any random arbitrary guess pressure. Okay. Still we will get the correct solution, but the time taken to reach the correct solution may depend on the initial guess. Means rate of convergence may depend on the initial guess. So once you take the guess pressure, with the guess pressure, we can write the momentum equation, and if we solve the momentum equation with the guess pressure, we will get the velocity values as some velocity value. Okay, let us call them as U star, V star, and W star. This is with the guess pressure, so these values are not correct. Okay, because we are using an arbitrary pressure, wrong pressure. Means it will be like hitting a lottery if we guess the correct pressure. So you can assume that we will be guessing the wrong pressure. So by guessing the wrong pressure, we are getting some wrong values of U, V, and W, but some values of U, V, and W. Okay, let us call them as star values: U star, V star, and W star. So these star values satisfy the momentum equation with the star values of pressure. Okay, because by solving this equation, we are obtaining the star values. These star values of velocity satisfies this momentum equation with the guess values of pressure. Excuse me. Okay, so let us continue. So obviously this is not the correct velocity field unless the guess pressure field is correct, and it is like hitting a lottery. Okay, getting the guess pressure field correct. So obviously we will not get the guess pressure field correct unless like it is 1 in a million chance or something like that. So we will have the wrong velocity field after solving. Okay. Now we will subtract this equation 2 from equation 1. Okay. Equation 1 has the correct velocity. Although we don't know the velocities, but it is with the correct velocity and correct pressure, but we don't know the values. So we will subtract the wrong velocity equation with the correct equation from the correct equation. And if you do that, you will get an equation like this: A UE minus UE star is equal to summation of UNB minus UNB star plus PP minus PP star minus PE minus PE star into AE. Okay. Let us call these differences as dash. Okay. So UE minus UE star is UE dash. So AE UE dash is equal to summation ANB UNB dash, where ANB UNB dash is UNB minus UNB star plus PP dash minus PE dash. PP dash is PP minus PP star. PE dash is PE minus PE star. These dash are known as these dash values U dash, V dash, W dash, and P dash are known as correction terms. Okay. Why these are known as correction terms? Because if you know the correction term values, so for example, if I know PP dash value or P dash value, I can add them to the PP star value, then I will get the correct pressure value. PP is unknown, PP dash is also unknown, but if somehow I can find out what is PP dash, if somehow we can find out what is the correction term, I can add it with the guess value PP star. So because PP star plus PP dash is equal to PP, I will get the correct value. Similarly for the velocities also. So if I know somehow the correction terms, if I can get the value of correction terms, we can add with the star values with the wrong values to get the correct values. So now our aim is to find the correction terms. Okay. So we have reduced the problem to finding the correction terms. Now we will take another major assumption. Okay. What we are going to do is, from this correction, this is known as velocity correction equation. Okay. We are going to drop this term, summation ANB UNB dash. Okay. Arbitrarily we are going to drop this term. Why we are going to drop this term? Let me explain. Okay. So if we keep this term, solving the u dash equation is not possible because it will depend on its neighboring values. Okay, so the velocity, the pressure, the velocity correction at UE, which is UE dash, the velocity correction at UE, which is UE dash, will depend on its four neighboring values. Similarly, the velocity correction for its neighboring value will depend on its four neighboring values. So ultimately, all the velocity corrections will depend on all the neighboring values. So it will be like solving for the entire grid simultaneously, which is not possible. Okay. So because of this coupling, we are going to drop this. Okay. Now you can say that then the equation becomes incorrect because the correct equation for velocity means if I solve this correct equation, we will get the correct values. But if you drop a term, how will we get the correct value? We are not going to get the correct value because you are modifying the equation. You are removing one term. So the value should not be correct. Okay, that is true. However, remember that when we reach the correct solution, say after certain iterations, we reach the correct solution. Okay. When we reach the correct solution, what will be the value of PP dash, PE dash and UE dash? Once you reach the correct solution, say after a few iterations, you reach the correct solution. What will be the value of PP star, PE star, UE star and the dash values? Can somebody say? Once you reach the correct solution, what will be the value of star values and what will be the dash values?
0.
Dash values will be 0, correct? Because you have reached the correct solution, there is no correction term required. The star values itself will become equal to the correct value. Okay. So once we reach the correct solution, anyway this equation will become 0. So it does not matter. So only thing that will matter is how we reach the correct solution. If we drop this term, our reaching the correct solution will take a different path. Means the iterations will take a different amount of steps. But ultimately, once we reach the correct solution, our solution will be correct itself, whether we drop the term or not. Okay. So that is what I have summarized here. We will drop the term summation a and b, u and b from the equation to simplify the calculation. This is okay, as when we reach the correct solution, the correction terms are anyway equal to 0. However, this will affect the rate of convergence, that is the rate at which we go towards the correct solution, although we will reach the correct solution. Okay. So we will reach the correct solution, but it will affect the rate at which we reach the correct solution. But it is necessary, otherwise we cannot even calculate u dash. Okay. So now after dropping this term, we can write this equation as AUE dash is equal to PP dash minus PE dash AE. Okay. Remember, A is known. A is delta x in delta y into delta z. Okay. So now we can write this as UE dash is equal to D PP dash minus PE dash. Okay. D PP dash, let me keep this open. D PP dash minus P dash, where D is equal to AE by small a. Capital A is known, small a is also known because this is a coefficient. It has already been calculated while discretization. Okay. So small a is also known, capital A is also known. So D is known. Now the unknowns are UE dash, PP dash and PE dash. Okay. So this formula is known as velocity correction formula. Okay. What is the significance of this formula? If somehow we manage to get the pressure correction terms, okay, if through some clever mechanism we can find the PP dash and PE dash values, we will find the value of UE dash. Okay. So if by some clever mechanism we can get the PP dash and PE dash values, we will find the value of UE dash, and by adding UE dash to U star, we will get the correct velocity U. Okay. So now our task has become more specific. Okay, I cannot say it has become simple, but it has become more specific. We just have to find the pressure correction terms. So once we get the pressure correction terms, we know that we can get the velocity correction term, and once we get the velocity correction term, we can add the velocity correction to the star velocity to get the correct velocity, and we can add the pressure correction to the star pressure to get the correct pressure. So now we have streamlined our problem, a very difficult problem, to a single objective to get the pressure correction terms. Okay. So this is known as velocity correction formula. If the pressure correction terms P dash are known, this can be used to update the velocity as U is equal to U star plus U dash, or U is equal to U star plus D PP dash minus P dash. I have already described this. Okay. So now finally our objective is to find some strategy to calculate the pressure correction P dash. Okay. So what is our strategy? We have one more equation, the continuity equation. So we are going to use that equation, and you will see that how clever these people were when they devised this type of algorithms, because it is not intuitive how to relate the pressure to the continuity. But once it is related, you will see that it seems quite simple. Okay. So we will devise an equation which is known as pressure correction equation. So simple algorithm has an equation called pressure correction equation. Okay. So for this equation, for deriving this equation, we will assume that P is not a function of density. Okay. So now we will start with the continuity equation. Okay. I will keep this equation here. Okay, the velocity correction equation here, because we will need this. Just give me a minute. Okay. Okay, let us continue. So the continuity equation can be written as del rho del t plus del x of rho u plus del y of rho v plus del z of rho w equal to 0 in 3D. Okay. The continuity equation we are going to discretize over the main control volume. Okay, not over the staggered control volume. So let us take a look at the main control volume. The main control volume is represented by the grid point P at the center. The velocity components are defined not at the grid point but at the faces, remember, because they are staggered. So I have UE defined at the right face, I have UW defined at the left face. Okay, these are the actual U components, okay, not interpolated components. This is why the velocity is defined, UE and UW. Similarly, VS is defined at the bottom face and VN is defined at the top face. Again, these are the actual velocity components, not the interpolated ones. This is where the velocities are defined based on their staggered control volume. Okay. So I can integrate over the entire control volume. Okay, I can integrate over the entire control volume, main control volume, and if I integrate, what will you get? So you will get rho p minus rho p 0. So if I integrate with respect to time, rho p 0 is the old time step value of density. Rho p, so this is very simple integration. You can do it on your own. Rho p minus rho p 0 by delta t. Okay, into delta x, delta y, delta z. For this term, because there is no variation with x, y, and z direction, so you just, for the integral with respect to x, y, and z, you just get delta x, delta y, delta z. Okay, and for del rho del t, you get rho p minus rho p 0 by delta t. Similarly, for the del x rho u, you get rho u east minus rho u west into delta y into delta z. Because the variation is only along the x direction, we get rho u east minus rho u west. For the y and z direction, you just multiply by the integral just gets resolved as multiplication with respect to the area. Okay, delta y delta z. So rho u east can be written as rho east into u east, and rho u west can be written as rho west into u west. Okay, where the rho east and rho west has to be interpolated at the interface. U east and u west need not be interpolated because these are the actual values. Okay. Similarly, for the y direction, del y of rho v can be written as rho vn minus rho vs into delta z delta x, and for the z direction we can write rho w top minus rho w bottom, okay, into delta x delta y. So this is equal to 0. So this is the integral of the continuity equation over the main control volume P. Okay. Now what we are going to do to relate it to pressure, we are going to replace all the velocity components by the velocity correction equation. Okay, this equation. We are going to use this equation we are going to use this equation, okay, this type of equation, and replace all the velocity components. So the UE we are going to replace by UE star plus D into PP dash minus PE dash. Similarly, UW we will replace by UW will be equal to UW star plus DW PW dash minus PP dash. Okay. Similarly, for all the other components, so Vn will be equal to Vn star plus Dn PPN dash, sorry, Pn dash minus PP dash minus Pn dash. Similarly, you can just replace all the values. Okay. So ultimately, what will you get in the equation? If you replace by this type of equation, you will get all the star values. So you have 6 velocity components: UE, UW, Vn, Vs, Wt, Wb. So instead of this, you will get 6 star values: UE star, UW star, Vn star, Vs star, Wt star, and Wb star, and multiplied by these factors delta y, delta z, and rho e. And then you will get all the pressure correction terms. So for each case, you will get one PP dash term and one pressure correction term corresponding to that grid. Okay, like PP dash and PE dash, PP dash and PW dash, PP dash and PN dash. So you will get 7 pressure correction terms, one PP, few PP dash terms, and then PE dash, PW dash, PN dash, PS dash, PT dash, and PB dash. Okay. So I can rearrange this equation. Okay, you do it on your own after the class. I will rearrange this equation so that I only have the pressure correction terms, and I will take the PP dash terms to one side. So there will be 6 PP dash terms, one for each velocity. Okay, one from each velocity. There will be PP dash terms. So there will be 6 PP dash terms, which I will take to the left side. And then on the right hand side, we have AE PE dash plus AW PW dash plus AN PN dash plus AS PS dash plus AT PT dash plus AB PB dash. So these has come from the velocity correction formula. Okay. Plus B, where B contains all the star values plus this transient term. Okay. B contains all the star values plus this transient term. So what is B? B is, so if I go back to this equation, pressure correction equation, B contains this term. It has been taken on the other side, so the sign has changed. So now it is rho P0 minus rho P into delta X, delta Y, delta Z by del T. Then all the star values. So rho U star W minus rho U star E, because we have taken to the other direction, the sign has changed, into delta Y, delta Z, plus rho V S star minus rho V N star, delta Z, delta X, plus rho W B star minus rho W T star, delta Y X, delta Y. Okay. So this is the B term, and then AP is equal to AE plus AW plus AN plus AS plus AT plus AB, where AE is equal to, from this equation you can see, rho E into delta Y, delta Z into this term will come, okay, DE, okay, into DE will come because you are replacing the velocity by pressure correction. This DE will come here. So rho E, DE, delta Y, delta Z. Similarly, AW will be rho W, DW, delta Y, delta Z. All the others can be written accordingly. Rho N, DN, delta Z, delta X, rho S, DS, delta Z, delta X. Okay. So now we have an equation. This equation is a famous equation. This is known as pressure correction equation. Okay. So in this equation, if you see this B term, okay, rho P0 minus rho P, these are known. Delta X, delta Y, delta Z are known. Delta T is known based on the discretization. Rho values are known, delta Y, delta Z are known. What about the star values? Do you know the star values? Rho E star, rho W star, do we know it? Any answers? If you go back to the momentum equation, initial momentum equation, what did we solve? We started with a guess pressure P star and solved the momentum equation to get the wrong velocities U star, V star, and W star. So it means that we know the star values. Okay, these are not the correct values, but we know these values based on the guess pressure P star. Okay, so this U star, UW star, UE star, VS star, VN star, WV star, WT star are also known. So B is known. Okay, B is known. Then these coefficients, are they known? Rho E is known. Delta Y, delta Z are known. What about D? Do we know D? Answers. No one is listening or what?
Yes, sir.
Do we know D? We know, right? So because A is known, A is the area and small a is the coefficient, which we must have found when we discretize the momentum equation, okay, using any of these schemes like upwind or whatever. So all these values are known: AP, AE, AW, AN, AS, AT, AB, and B. So this equation, only unknowns are the pressure correction terms. Okay, so we can write this equation as AP PP dash is equal to summation ANB PNB dash. Okay, in 3D we have the main grid point pressure correction and is 6 neighboring. In 2D there will be 4 neighboring grid points. In 3D it is 6 neighboring grid points. So summation ANB PNB dash plus B. So this is like a normal equation. Normal A and B is like AP phi P plus AP phi P is equal to summation A and B phi N B plus B. Exactly same form of the equation. So we can use any of the solution algorithm like TDMA or some of the algorithms what we know already to solve this equation. Is it clear to you that this equation is of the same form as AP phi P is equal to summation A and B phi N B plus B? Exactly same form as say our energy equation, discretized energy equation. Only thing is that instead of temperature here we have pressure correction, but otherwise everything is known. Okay, and we can use any of the methods like TDMA, tridiagonal matrix algorithm, to solve this equation, like line by line TDMA or some method, Gauss-Seidel method, to solve the equation to obtain the pressure correction values. Okay, so what we have done very cleverly is that we have somehow used the continuity and obtained some measure of pressure, which is the pressure corrections, using some clever manipulation. Okay, so this, to summarize this equation 3, very famous. Okay, this equation, this is known as pressure correction equation. This has been derived using the continuity equation. U star, V star and W star are previously calculated from the momentum equation using gauge pressure field P star. So because U star, V star, W star is known, B is also known. Okay, now if B is equal to 0, it means that the start velocities, okay, if B is 0, it means that the start velocities satisfy the continuity equation, okay, discretized continuity equation. This is the discretized continuity equation if the start velocities are equal to the actual velocities. Okay, so if B is 0, the start velocities along with the density change satisfy the continuity equation and no pressure correction is needed. So B acts like a mass source which goes to 0 during the process of reaching convergence. Okay, so when we reach convergence, we have 0 pressure corrections. Okay, all the pressure corrections become 0 and B also becomes equal to 0. Okay, so before that we have to go through iterations to and in every iteration we will get the pressure correction terms. Okay, so after this, now we are ready to outline the simple algorithm, the entire algorithm, because we have just gone through a few parts, separate parts. Now we will put them together to understand the entire algorithm. Okay, what are the steps in the entire algorithm? So you have to pay careful attention. Okay, so what is the process? We will start with a gauge pressure field P star. Okay, as I have already stated, any gauge pressure field, it does not matter. You can decide based on the boundary condition, or you may not know anything. You just decide that it will be 0 or 100 or 1000 or 1 lakh, 1 million, whatever. So you just start with a gauge pressure field P star. Then using the gauge pressure field, we will solve the momentum equation to get the U star, V star and W star values. We will solve equation to get star values U star, V star and W star. Okay. We have 3 momentum equation, U direction, V direction and W direction. We have to solve the 3 momentum equations. Once we have solved the U and obtained the U star, V star, we will now solve the pressure correction equation. Okay. So again, we will be using the same algorithm, TDMA. Momentum equation also we will be using TDMA, line by line TDMA or Gauss-Seidel. For this also same solution algorithm. We can just use the same solver for solving any of this equation. Only thing is that we will supply different coefficients. Okay. So we will solve the pressure equation to get the pressure correction term. Once you get the pressure correction term, by definition of pressure correction, pressure, correct pressure is equal to pressure P star plus pressure correction P dash. Okay. So we will add P dash to P star, okay, to get the updated pressure. Remember that because we have solved the pressure correction term with the incorrect velocity, our pressure corrections are not the correct pressure correction till now. Okay, these are just some intermediate pressure correction. That's why when you update the pressure, you will get an intermediate pressure, not the correct pressure. Okay, you will get an intermediate pressure P, because we have used incorrect velocities for solving. Now we will calculate the velocities using the velocity correction formula, using this formula, because we know the pressure correction terms and velocity U star. We will get UE, UW, Vn, Vs, all the velocities for the entire grid structure by using this velocity correction formula. Once we get the pressure and velocities, we can solve the other equations. Okay, like if I have the energy equation where we have the convective term, where we need the U velocity, because you have a term U, rho U CPT. So there also you need U. So we will use this U for solving the energy equation or concentration equation, any other equation, turbulence equation. Once everything is done, one iteration is complete. Okay. Then we will take the new value of pressure, this updated value of pressure as the new gauge pressure. And we will go back to step 1. And with this new pressure as the gauge pressure, we will again go through the entire process. And again we will get the new pressure, and again we will go through the entire process. We will keep on doing until we see that the change is very small, change in the pressure and velocity is very small, and we have obtained convergence. Then we will stop and go to the next time step. So this algorithm is known as simple algorithm and has been very cleverly designed by modifying the continuity equation into a pressure correction equation. Okay. Any questions on this? This has been described in slightly more details in the book by Patankar. So I suggest that you read the book to get some more details if you want. Otherwise, for the exam, this is sufficient. Means for our course, my notes will be sufficient. But if you want to learn more, you can read the book. Okay. But I suggest to read the Patankar book, not other books. Then you will get confused because they have other books have shown it in a different manner. Okay, it is more confusing. So if you want to read any book, you just read the book by Patankar. So if there are no questions, let me go through a few points regarding the simple algorithm. Okay, what we have just now studied. We'll keep the algorithm open here. So the source term B in the pressure correction equation is a good indicator of convergence. Okay, it is a good indicator of convergence. If the B is decreasing, it means that we are reaching towards convergence. If B goes to 0, we have reached convergence. This source term means if the source term is 0, it means that the star values satisfy the continuity equation. If the star values satisfy the continuity equation, it means that the star values are the correct velocity values. So that's why it is a good indicator of convergence. Okay, although we don't use this to measure convergence, but it can also be a good indicator of convergence. P dash equation is an intermediate part of the algorithm, but has no direct effect on the final solution. Okay. For all converged solution, all different formulation of P dash will give the correct final solution. Okay. We have derived the P dash equation in some manner. Okay. Where for calculating the P dash, we have taken some drastic formula, like we have taken this velocity correction as this, and for this we have dropped this term. Okay, we have dropped this term. So somebody else can devise another method of calculating or deriving the P dash equation, where not by dropping this term but by some other approximation. So it will not have any effect on the correct solution. Only effect will be on the rate of convergence. The correct solution will still be the correct solution. So the P dash equation does not have any bearing on the correct solution, only on how fast we reach the correct solution. Okay. So that is what I mentioned. However, the rate of convergence depends on the formulation of the P dash equation. So generally there is a chance of divergence in the pressure term. Okay. So we generally use under relaxation. Okay. So we use the under relaxation factor. So what we do is that we don't use the full pressure correction and add it to the gauge pressure. We add a part of the pressure correction to the gauge pressure, so that we move towards the correct value in smaller steps. Okay, so that there is less chance of a big jump. Even if there is a big jump, the under relaxation factor will make the jump smaller. So instead of writing P is equal to P star plus P dash, we write P is equal to P star plus alpha P into P dash, where alpha P has a value between 0 and 1, maybe 0.5 or 0.3 like this. Okay. This is known as relaxation factor or under relaxation factor. Okay. And if the P dash has a very big jump, if the P dash value is very large, this alpha P will reduce that jump. Okay, so there is less chance of fluctuation. Basically, it will smoothen out the fluctuations. Okay, so it will slow the rate of convergence, but the chances of convergence will increase. If you reduce the under relaxation, if you find in some cases that the solution is not converging, you should reduce the under relaxation factor. So if it is 0.5, you can make it 0.3 or even 0.2 or zero point 0.1. So it will reduce the rate of convergence. It will take more time to reach the converged solution, but the chance of convergence will increase. Chance of divergence will decrease. Okay, these two things are separate. One is the rate of convergence, another is the chance of convergence. So by decreasing the rate of convergence, we can increase the chance of convergence. Another thing is that the velocity field at each iteration satisfies the continuity equation. Okay, because we are calculating the continuity equation based on the correct velocity, means u star plus u dash. Okay, so u star plus u dash is supposed to be the correct velocity. So the velocity field at each iteration satisfies the continuity equation. Okay, and if the density is not known, density can be calculated using other relations such as equation of state, like Py rho equal to RT for an gas, for an ideal gas. But if there is too much dependence of pressure on density, like for compressible flow, then this solution will diverge. Okay, so this algorithm is not suitable for compressible flow. For small fluctuation like Py rho equal to RT, smaller fluctuations, it can be taken. But for large high speed flows like that occurs when, say, supersonic flows or transonic flows or shock waves, those type of things cannot be captured. We need other algorithms for those. Okay, so simple algorithm is it fails to capture those type of phenomena. And the final point is that this P dash equation, it's an elliptic equation. It shows two-way behavior. If you remember, we have long back we have studied about elliptic and parabolic equation. So parabolic equation shows one-way behavior, means the future value just depends on the previous value. But in elliptic equation, any value will depend on all the neighboring values. Okay, so P dash equation is an elliptic type of equation. One value influences all the other values. Okay, so like this. So these are some points regarding the simple algorithm. Okay. Any questions? So if there are no questions, I will take a small break here, 5 minutes, and we will go to the second algorithm, which is known as simpler, which is an extension of the simple, but it is much more popular because this is a it is much more robust and much like rate of convergence also is faster, and it avoids some of the problems that are present in the simple algorithm, and this is known as simple revised or simpler. Okay, so after 5 minutes we will continue the discussion on that. Think about any questions if you have any. All right, so we will continue. Can you hear me and see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So any questions on this simple algorithm? I hope you have understood the sequence, at least sequence of steps, and the main idea behind how to convert the continuity to pressure correction equation. So we will go on to the next method, which is known as simple revised, simpler. Okay. So in simple algorithm, we had omitted this A and B summation A and B U and B dash term, right? We had omitted this term. So this is not a big problem, but because of this, what happens is that when solving the pressure correction equation, there is exaggerated pressure correction. Okay, so the pressure fluctuations are large. So sometimes the chances of convergence is decreased. Also, the pressure correction has the entire load of correcting the velocities. Okay, so if like because the velocity correction is based on the pressure correction, and these velocities are replaced in the continuity equation. So because of that, what happens is that there is severe pressure correction fluctuations. Okay, because the entire burden of velocity correction is on the pressure correction field. So if there is so from one iteration to other iteration, there can be severe pressure correction uh, jumps. Okay, so this is not good for calculating the new pressure, because the new gas pressure will not be a very good gas pressure. Okay. Another point is that it's not mentioned here, but another point is that in case somehow we get the correct velocity initially, say somehow or you are very near to the correct velocity. Okay. So this type of algorithm, the simple algorithm, will here we will calculate the velocity based on the pressure. So we will go away from the correct velocity, further away, and then come back to the correct velocity. So although the number of iterations should have been very less, or even if we had the correct velocity in one iteration, we should have got the correct result. But because of the pressure correction, use of pressure correction, it sometimes goes away from the correct solution and comes back. Okay. So to avoid these issues, the simple algorithm can be modified such that the pressure correction is employed for correcting the velocity, but the pressure correction is not employed for correcting the pressure. Okay, so even if there are large pressure fluctuations, the pressure field is not affected, the calculated pressure field is not affected. We calculate the pressure in a separate way. Okay, and with this modification, we call the algorithm as simple revised. Okay, and this contains one extra equation for solving the pressure field known as pressure equation. Okay, pressure correction equations will still be there. We will see the algorithm also later, but we have one extra equation which is known as the pressure equation for solving the pressure. We will not use pressure correction for solving the pressure. We will only use pressure correction for solving the velocity. Okay. Let us see this, how this pressure equation looks like. And we will see that it is exactly analogous to the pressure correction equation. So I have kept the pressure correction equation open on the right hand side. Okay. So the discretized momentum equation we have seen is the discretized momentum equation can be written as AEU is equal to summation A and B, U and B plus B plus AE PP minus PE. Okay. By rearranging the terms, we can write this as U is equal to summation A and B, U and B plus B by AE. Okay. Plus AE by small a, which is D, which we have already defined as DE. DE PP minus PE. Okay. So now we will define another term which is known as pseudo velocity. Okay. And we will define it by the symbol U hat, V hat, W hat, like this. So this summation A and B, U and B plus B by A, let us call this as a pseudo velocity. This is like a velocity but not exactly a velocity. Okay, it behaves like a velocity but not exactly a velocity. Let us call this as pseudo velocity UE hat. Okay, so UE can be now written as UE hat plus DE PP minus PE. Okay. Does this equation look familiar to us? Yes, it does look familiar to us because this is same as this equation or similar to this equation. UE is equal to UE star plus DE PP dash minus PE dash. Okay, so this is similar to this equation, but instead of UE star, we have UE hat, the pseudo velocities, and instead of pressure corrections, we have the actual pressures. Otherwise, this form of the equation is similar. Similarly, Vn is equal to Vn hat plus Dn Pp minus Pn, and Wt is equal to Wt hat plus Dt Pp minus Pt. Similarly, you can write Uw, Vs and Wb. Okay. These relations are similar to the relation between velocity correction and pressure correction, means this is similar to this equation. However, there is a major distinction. Okay. For getting this equation, we had taken one major assumption, we had dropped this term. For getting this equation, we have not dropped any term. Okay. So this is directly from the momentum equation without dropping any term. Okay. Whatever term was there is included in this hat values. We have not dropped any term. We have not simplified it. Okay. So now using an approach which is similar to this simple algorithm, where we have developed the pressure correction equation, we can again do the same thing, but using, instead of pressure correction, we can use the pseudo velocities and we can derive a pressure equation. Okay, so again we can start with the continuity equation del rho del t plus del x of rho u plus del y of rho v plus del z of rho w equal to 0, and after integrating we get rho p minus rho p 0 del x del y del z by del t plus rho u e minus rho u w del y del z plus rho vn minus rho vs del z del x plus rho wt minus rho wb del x del y equal to 0. Okay. Now substituting the values, velocities in terms of pseudo velocities. Okay, what velocities we will substitute now? We will substitute these values. Okay, instead of UE, we will write UE hat plus DE PP minus PE. Similarly, instead of Vn, we will write Vn hat plus Dn PP minus Pn. Similarly, instead of Wt, we will write Wt hat plus Dt Pp minus Pt. And for similarly for Uw, Vs and Wb. So if you do that, you will get 7 pressure components Pp, then Pe, Pw, Pn, Ps, Pt and Pv, and then all the head velocities. Okay. So I can write, I have written the full equation here. You can write the full equation like this: rho p minus rho p0 del x del y del z by del t. So for example, the first term rho ue can be written as rho e ue hat plus d pp minus pe by replacing this ue. Okay. Similarly, rho w minus rho w, uw can be written as uw hat plus dw pw minus pp. Okay, into delta y delta z. Same thing can be written for these two terms, the v terms and the w terms. Okay. So this will become our discretized equation. It has terms UE hat, UW hat, VN hat, VS hat, WT hat and VB, sorry, this will be WB, okay, not VB, WV hat. This will be WV hat, not VB hat. Okay. And then we have the pressure terms PP minus, sorry, PP minus P, PW minus PP, PP minus PN, PS minus PP, PP minus PT and PB minus PP. So 6 pressure PP terms and then individual P, PW, PN, PS, PT and PB terms. So if we rearrange and put all the U hat terms in a source term, we will get APPP is equal to AEPE plus AWPW plus ANPN plus ASPS plus ATPT plus AVPV plus B. Okay, where AE again is same as the pressure correction equation. Rho E DE delta Y delta Z, AW is rho W DW delta Y delta Z. So this equation is, sorry, this is not, this, what is the pressure correction equation? This is the pressure correction equation. So A is similar to same as pressure correction equation, rho E D delta Y delta Z. Similarly, AW, AN, AS, AT, AB and AP. Okay. The only thing that has changed is that instead of pressure correction terms, we have pressure terms, and this is just scanned again. Okay. And the, so instead of pressure correction, we have pressure terms, and the B term now contains, instead of the star velocities, it contains the head velocities and the transient term. Okay, the head velocities and the transient term. This equation is known as the pressure equation. And if you know the head velocities, we have not yet decided how we will know the head velocities, but if you know the head velocities, we can calculate the pressure from this equation. Okay, this pressure equation. Only B is defined as compared to the pressure correction equation. All other terms are similar. No approximation or omission of terms are required for deriving the pressure equation. This is a very important point. We have not omitted any term. If the correct velocities are used, pressure equation will give the correct pressure field in one iteration itself. Okay. If we know the correct velocities and if we use the correct velocities, we'll get the correct pressure in one iteration. This will not be the case in simple algorithm. If you use the correct velocities, still we will go away from the, because you are not using the velocities for calculation, you will go away from the correct velocities because of pressure correction, because of the omission of the term, and then after a few iterations you will come back to the correct solution. But this is not the case here. So now let us look at the algorithm. Okay, let us look at the algorithm. So we will start here with a guessed velocity field, not a pressure field. Okay, so arbitrarily we will guess a velocity field. Again, you can ask how we will guess a velocity field. We can guess it anyway. Okay, we can guess it based on the boundary velocity, or we can just arbitrarily guess the velocity to be 0 everywhere, or 1 everywhere, or 10 or 100, whatever. But some guess velocity field. Okay, guess velocity field means guess velocity for all points, for u velocity, for v velocity, and w velocity. Once you guess the velocity, we will calculate the head values using summation a and b u and b plus b by a, this type of terms. Okay, because you already have the guess velocity u and b, we can get the head velocities. So we will get u hat, v hat, and w hat by using this type of equations. Okay, once you get the coefficients of the momentum equation a and b and a, we will get all the head velocities. Remember, the head velocities are not correct velocities, just based on the guess velocities. Okay. Now once you get the head velocities we are calling as pseudo velocities. Okay. So once you get the pseudo velocities, we can calculate this b. Okay, and solve the pressure equation to get the updated pressure. Okay, we can calculate b and solve the pressure equation to get the updated pressure. So up to this point, the simpler algorithm is defined. Now we will go back to the simple algorithm. Now we will use this guess pressure field, so this updated pressure field P as the guess pressure to solve the momentum equation to get the u star, v star, and w star values like we had done previously. Okay, so using this pressure P, we will solve the momentum equation to get this u star, v star, and w star. Then we will solve the pressure correction equation like in previous case. We will get the pressure correction. We will correct the velocities using the pressure correction. So we will correct the velocities using the pressure correction, but we will not correct the pressure. Okay, because we have already calculated the pressure, we will not correct the pressure. Now we can solve all the other variables like temperature, concentration, and go back to the initial equation with the corrected velocities at the next guess velocities. We will again calculate the head velocities, again calculate the pressure field. Okay, and everything. So in this method, directly we will get the pressure field instead of using pressure correction for the pressure field, but for the velocity field we will use pressure correction. Okay, and if by chance we have the correct velocity field, we will directly get the correct pressure. Okay, so this is much more generally convergence is much faster as compared to simple algorithm. Okay, it is more robust also. Convergence is much faster. Robust means that it can get convergence in more cases. And however, one iteration will take more time. Okay, because you have more steps in a single iteration. So one iteration will take more time, but the number of iterations will be much less. So the overall time will be less. Okay, so this is the simpler algorithm, and some comments are there. You can read those. So if the correct velocity field is given, the correct pressure is obtained at once. Okay. For simple algorithm, convergence will take many iterations, but in this case, we will take one iteration. Okay, boundary conditions we have not discussed, but it is similar to what is done for pressure correction equations. So if the pressure or velocity is given, it can be taken into account. In this course, I have not discussed it. For simpler algorithm, convergence is much faster. Number of iterations is less, but each iteration is computationally more expensive. Okay. So this is the part up to which we have our course syllabus, means course curriculum. And I wanted to give you some extra material. So any questions up to this point? You have understood this or not understood at all? So that's why you are not asking any questions. You go through it again, okay? Try to understand, and everything is there in the notes and in the book by Patanka. It's not very difficult, just remembering the correct sequence is difficult, but you should know the sequence of steps. It's very important. Okay. So we use this very frequently in our codes and in the actual CFD solvers like ANSYS Fluent or others like Star CCM Plus or any other solvers use simpler algorithm along with some other modern algorithms like PISO. There are other modern algorithms, but this is an old algorithm developed during 1970s, but still is very popular. You can imagine how good the quality is, that it has survived for 50 years and still so popular. And when it was discovered at the time, it was the situation of programming. In 1967, programming was at the very basic level. Using punch card, people used to do programming, input output. Okay, there were no monitors also. So at that time, these type of algorithms have been devised. So much intelligence would have been required to devise this type of algorithms at that point, 1960s, 70s, when computer was at a very basic level. You did not have, so input output was using punch cards. So very difficult. Some programming languages were there like Fortran, still it was there, but they again input output was using like this punch card and printers, not using monitors. Anyway, so if there are no questions, because we still have some time left, I will just quickly go through the material I was supposed to circulate to you. Means I was going to give it to you to read, okay, on your own, but because half an hour is left and only 4 or 5 pages are there, theory type, I can quickly go through this material and it will be better in that sense. So if there are questions, now is the time to ask. So we will see how much we can go, like how much we can discuss in this class. Otherwise, you just go through that material. It is easily understandable. Means you can just self-study this part. Okay, I have written in a descriptive manner, and this has been uploaded in the portal. And you will see that there are two problem sets also uploaded. Okay, just for some practice. Although most of the questions may be theoretical type of questions. Questions is already set. You can expect a lot of short questions. Okay, you can expect a lot of short questions and one or two long questions. Okay, and most questions should be theoretical type, but one or two numerical problems may be there, may or may not be there, but at least you can see how to solve this. Okay, so the similar type of problem which was given in the exam using finite difference method, but now using finite volume method. One problem is there. You can just check this problem how to solve using finite volume method, and another problem is also there on transient solution. Okay, and then couple of problems are there from today's discussion, simple and simpler algorithm. Okay, so these problems are like more like in real life you will not encounter this type of problems. These are more artificially created just for the theoretical course. Means in real life you have to develop a code. So, but these are just to understand the theoretical knowledge. So one is based on the simple algorithm, like using simple algorithm to solve a simple problem. Okay, and another using a simpler algorithm to solve a simple 2D problem. So based on simple momentum equations, not very difficult momentum equations. Okay. You can go through this to understand better. This type of problems may be expected also in the exam, may or may not be. I cannot say. I don't remember frankly what I have put in the questions. I know that I have put a lot of short questions. So let us come back to this and only thing that will be pending after today. Tomorrow we don't have the class, so today we will finish. Only thing that will be pending is the project presentation. So which day will be suitable for that after the exam? Can we have it on? your internships may start for some of you, but most probably internship will be mostly online, right? Can we have it on 15th, Saturday? I have to submit I have to prepare the grades by 16th, I think. 17th I have to submit to the department committee. So the last I can go is 15th or 16th morning. And your exam is finishing on 12th. So if I want, I can put it on 13th also, but I want to give you some time at least so that you have some time to work on at least you can do something with the project. Or if you want, you can have it earlier. Please suggest something. Don't be silent. Is 15th okay? 15th evening or afternoon?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you discuss among yourself and you confirm. So tentatively 15th afternoon. Okay, we cannot go beyond that. At max we can go to 16th morning. It will be very difficult for me to grade in that case, but still possible for me. Or we can have it on 14th night also, or 14th late evening if you want. I guess 15th afternoon will be sufficient because it is Saturday. So even if somebody's internship starts, still Saturday will be free for them. So for the presentation, I will send you some pointers, but it's just that you have to give a 10 to 10 minutes presentation, 10 to 15 minutes. And if you two or two students are there in your team, so both of you can give part of the presentation, or at least both of you should be present so that I can ask questions. Okay, and everybody should be present for everybody's presentation, so that they can understand from the others' work also what type of work can be done. And I don't expect the project to be very elaborate or very exhaustive because of the very short duration that was available to you guys. Okay, so accordingly my expectation level also is lower, so don't worry too much, but just try to understand something while implementing, like whether you use ANSYS or code, that is fine, but at least you try to get that understanding of or feel the difficulty level of doing this type of coding, so that it helps you in future when you go for more extensive work in CFD, say in your BTP project or MTP, or say if you are working in the industry, there you will be using some tools, either in-house codes or softwares like ANSYS or COMSOL or some other software. So this course should be helpful in that case. Okay. If you have any questions regarding the project also, you can ask me now. Okay, because we will not get any other chance for discussion before the exam or after the exam. Directly we will discuss or meet again on the project presentation day. And otherwise, let me just go through this material, and if I cannot finish it, you can just read it on your own. Okay. So this is not part of the course structure, but this is important. So I just wanted to give you a brief idea about structured and unstructured grid, and questions can be asked from here also. Although it is not part of the course structure, it is part of your exam syllabus. Okay. So we want to understand what is the difference between structured and unstructured grids. Okay. So far we have only used structured grids based on Cartesian coordinate system for our derivations. Okay. Similar type of structured grids can be used for other coordinate systems such as cylindrical or spherical coordinate system. Okay. So in general, we can derive grids of two types, either structured or unstructured. What are the main features of a structured grid? I will show you some examples also, but let us first go through some main features of the structured grid. The domain can be represented by coordinate lines. Okay, and grid points are placed okay. Domain can be represented by coordinate lines, and grid points are placed at the intersection of the coordinate lines. So we have lines like this, which are known as coordinate lines in some direction, say x and y direction. Okay, and they crisscross each other, and either at this cross section or at the middle points, we can put grid points. Okay, like I jk, I plus 1 jk, I minus 1 jk. So we can have a linear increase in the value. So we can calculate in which direction the grid number is increasing. Say I minus 1 jk, this is I jk, this is I plus 1 jk. Okay. These lines need not be straight lines. Okay. For Cartesian coordinate system, these are straight lines. For other coordinate system, this can be like a curvilinear line, or for example, this can be circular line. Okay. If it is a cylindrical coordinate system. But direction is present. Okay. It is still structure. Means even if it is a circle, you can go according to increase in angle. So starting from 0 angle, then you can keep on increasing the angle and go in a particular direction. Then interior grid points have the same number of neighboring grid points. This is known as same connectivity. Okay, any grid point you take, for example, this grid point, it has 4 neighboring grid points, 1, 2, 3, 4. This grid point will also have 4 neighboring grid points, 1, 2, 3, and here one more will be there. So any, say for example, this one, it will have 4 neighboring grid points in 2D. Okay, if it is 3D, it will have 6 neighboring grid points. If it is 1D, it will have 2 neighboring grid points. So all the grid points have the same number of neighboring grid points except the boundaries. Okay, so this is an important feature of structured grid. And third point is that grid point can be mapped to a matrix. Okay, for example, the location of the grid, location of any point in the grid structure and in the matrix can be given by index I, index j, and index k. So indices I, j, and k can give us the location of any point. So I can say that please go to point 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, and you will know which point it is. If I say please go to point 53, 37, 63, you will know which point this is. Okay, so this can be easily mapped. Okay, these are the features of a structured grid. What are some examples of structured grid? Cartesian grid, which we have studied extensively. Okay, cylindrical grid, spherical grid. Okay, then we will see 2 other examples: orthogonal curvilinear grid and non-orthogonal curvilinear grid. Okay, all these are structured grids, and all this can be generated when you are using, say, ANSYS Fluent or some other tool. We can generate structured grids which are non-Cartesian, not Cartesian coordinates based, but based on spherical coordinate or cylindrical coordinates. Okay, some of you are already doing it and will know this. Okay. So, for example, for Cartesian coordinate, the grids look like rectangular grids. Okay, ij, I plus 1, j, I minus 1, j, ij minus 1, ij plus 1. So, grids are generated using Cartesian coordinate system. This is suitable for rectangular geometry, regular rectangular geometry. However, if the geometry is irregular, like say aerofoil structure, then you need stepwise approximation at the boundary, like steps are needed at the boundary. Okay, and you also need cells to be blocked out. So what is done is that, how will you solve for this? So you have to take a domain like this. I hope we have still sufficient time. So we have to take a domain like this, a rectangular domain like this. Okay, and then we have to approximate the aerofoil structure like this, like a staircase arrangement, and all the grid points, there will be grid points even outside the aerofoil structure. These grid points will have to be given some properties like non-conducting, zero means zero velocity, non-conducting means non-participating, means they will be part of the equation because you have to solve the equation over the entire domain, but they will not contribute anything to the heat transfer or momentum. Okay, so you will need more grid points than necessary for solving unstructured, like for solving complicated geometries using Cartesian coordinate system. Also, another point is that because you are approximating at the interface, okay, at these interfaces, you are not exactly capturing the profile. The wall effects, like say wall shear stress or heat flux at the wall, will be inaccurate, not very accurately calculated. It is fine, but still, if we need more accuracy, then it is not sufficient. So one way to improve the accuracy is to use fine mesh. Okay, I can use fine mesh to improve this. So I can have smaller steps, large number of small steps, 1,000 steps, small. But then it will lead to much more computational effort. It will, the computational time will increase. Okay, so these are some of the drawbacks of Cartesian coordinate system. If I have a rectangular geometry or square geometry, then Cartesian coordinate system is the best coordinate system. Otherwise, it become very cumbersome. Similarly, we have cylindrical or spherical coordinate system. Okay, similar to Cartesian, but suitable for cylindrical or spherical geometry, like you can see here. Okay, Again, we can map the grids. So along the radial direction, the I is increasing, I minus 1 comma j, I comma j, I plus 1 comma j, and along the circumferential direction, j is increasing. So this is I j minus 1, this is I j, this is I j plus 1. Okay. So we have a nice regular arrangement. Okay. We may need this type of things when you are solving for a cylinder, flow through a cylinder. Okay. Then instead of Cartesian coordinate system or irregular system, using a cylindrical coordinate system will be, or cylindrical grids will be better. If you are solving for a sphere, okay, flow in a sphere or heat transfer in a sphere, then taking a spherical coordinate system may be better. Okay. Then there are two types of grids which are known as body fitted grids, non-orthogonal body fitted grids and orthogonal body fitted grids. Okay, these are also known as curvilinear grids, like I was saying. Orthogonal curvilinear and non-orthogonal curvilinear. What is body fitted grids? This is actually follow the shape of the body, but still have a structured arrangement. Okay. So for example, if this is an aerofoil, okay, this is an aerofoil structure. We are solving for the flow outside the aerofoil. So instead of taking squares outside the aerofoil or spherical grid or any other grid, what we can do is we can have these lines which are perpendicular to the direction of the aerofoil boundary. Okay, these vertical lines, they are not exactly vertical, so but they are always perpendicular to this direction. And then we have lines like this which follow this, which are perpendicular to this vertical direction lines. Okay, so at each point, this cross at each cross, both the lines are perpendicular. All the lines are perpendicular. If that is the case, we call the mesh as orthogonal mesh. Okay. If all the crosses are all the intersections are perpendicular, we call it as orthogonal. So this is an example of an orthogonal mesh. Okay. Orthogonal curvilinear mesh, which is body fitted. So it is fitted according to the body. So what is its main advantage? Main advantage is that calculation of the flux terms, the shear stress, this will be much more accurate because we are following the exact curve of the body. Okay. You are following the exact curve of the body. Okay. But creating the geometry will be more difficult as compared to rectangular grid, because you have to create the geometry very cleverly. You have to create these lines which should be parallel to this initial body, and then you have to create these perpendicular lines. So manually it has to be created. It is much more difficult to create this mesh. But once you create the mesh, the chances of convergence will increase. Okay. The other type of body fitted grid is known as non-orthogonal curvilinear, where it is exactly similar, but the lines are not perpendicular to each other. For example, in this case, you can see that at the center here, some of the lines, like this line, for example, is not perpendicular to this line. So I have drawn these lines as horizontal, vertical lines, but these lines are curved lines. So the angle is not 90 degrees. Okay. So this is somewhat easier to generate as compared to this. Okay, non-orthogonal curvilinear is somewhat easier to generate. But the main drawback is that because the lines are not perpendicular to each other, all the equations becomes much more complicated. That's why perpendicular orthogonal lines are much better, because then all the derivatives, everything, calculation is much easy. If the mesh lines are not perpendicular to each other, the governing equations becomes much more complex, but still it is similar to other structured mesh. And another problem for all the structured meshes, okay, this mesh, all this mesh, is that you cannot do local refinement. Means the grid structure at any point, means the grid size has to be equal everywhere. Okay, because they follow the same pattern. Grid structure, you cannot do one point will be, I will have very large number of grid points here, then very small number of grid points here. That is not possible. Okay. To do that, we have to go to another type of structured grid, which is known as block structured grid, where you can divide the geometry into separate blocks. For example, I have divided it into one internal block and one external block. Okay, for the internal block, I am using orthogonal curvilinear mesh with a fine geometry, and for the external block, I am just using rough, coarse, although structured mesh, very coarse mesh. Okay, so like this. So this is known as block structure geometry, where your domain is divided into regions. Each region has a separate structured grid. Okay, mesh may even use different coordinate system for different regions. and fine grids can be used locally. However, the main difficulty here is that, so although you can implement the code or solver blockwise, the computational effort becomes like you need much more effort to implement this. Okay, so I hope these are clear. Let me look. Let us look at how some of the examples look like. Say this is a geometry, okay, and we want to calculate the flow over the cylinder or flow over a circle in 2D. So in the Cartesian coordinate system, the circle will look like this. If I have a very coarse mesh, I can just approximate the circle using stepwise geometry like this, and you can imagine that the calculation will be quite inaccurate. But this is how we do in our code also. Like when we solve, we just take this type of approximation, but we take large number of grids so that we get approximately good calculation. If you see our papers also, you will see that we use rectangular grids for calculating metal foam geometry or say other energy storage structures where there are spheres or circles. And we approximate the circles based on this type of approximation only. We use some other tricks also. So we don't have only 1 and 0 type. We have partially filled circles also, squares also. But this is the idea in Cartesian grid. Same thing if you use orthogonal grid, it will look like this. Okay, much better, much better. Okay. For non-orthogonal grid, this is body fitted non-orthogonal grid. You can see that lines are not perpendicular to each other. Okay. For example, this line is not perpendicular. These lines are not perpendicular. But this is also quite good. This is like a block mesh for a circle. Okay. One region has a different type of mesh. Near the circle, you have a different type of mesh. Okay. And finally, if you want to go for unstructured mesh, the outside here is showing a unstructured grid. Unstructured grid means there is no structure. Okay, you can fit any arbitrary shape, whether it's a triangle, it's a quadrilateral, it's a pentagon, hexagon, any arbitrary shapes can be fitted. So let me just go through some points regarding the unstructured mesh. Okay, no structured or coordinate lines. Number of neighboring cells is not fixed. So one cell can have 5 neighboring cells, another cell can have 2 neighboring cells, another cell can have 9 neighboring cells. Okay, no limitation on control volume shape. It can be triangular, quadrilateral, pentagonal, hexagonal, whatever, heptagonal. In 3D, it can be tetrahedral, hexahedral, okay, any other shapes also. Okay, so in general, we use triangles and quadrilaterals in 2D and tetrahedrals and hexahedrals in 3D because these are easier to fit. So if you have a very arbitrary shape, like say you want to solve for a flow over a car, okay, the car geometry is very arbitrary. It is very difficult to create a structured mesh over a car. So as an initial trial, what many people do is that they create unstructured mesh. They will just use the random solve, like default mesh algorithm given by the software to generate the mesh. And the software will generate a mesh like this, some arbitrary mesh like this. Okay. Like it will try to fit triangles everywhere, some quadrilaterals, whatever is feasible. Now the main problem with this type of mesh is that convergence issues occur in many cases because the equations are much more difficult to solve in this arbitrary orientation. The derivatives are much more difficult to calculate, so it leads to a lot of numerical error and convergence issues are present. Okay, but the advantage is that mesh creation is easy. So sometimes we take a shortcut and we create a mesh like this. But once we struggle with convergence, then we think that okay, maybe we have to go for structured mesh. Then we try to go for structured mesh if the unstructured mesh is not working. So then developing a structured mesh for a complicated geometry like aerofoil or say sphere is much more difficult. But sometimes there is no other option if the unstructured mesh does not work. Mesh can be hybrid, such as a mixture of tetrahedral and hexahedral. Already we have discussed. It can have any combination. Okay. For example, for flow around cylinders, quads give better resolution of viscous effects in the boundary layer, and large triangles can be used elsewhere to reduce computational effort. So near the boundary layer, we can use quadrilaterals, and far away we can use triangles to reduce the computational effort. Okay. One of the advantages is that you can do mesh refinement. So locally, for example, near the important critical points like this point, stagnation point, and these points, okay, we can have very large number of triangles, small triangles, and wherever it is not required, we can have very large triangles. So mesh refinement can be done, and adaptive mesh generation is also much easier. Adaptive mesh generation means After each iteration, we can change the mesh. So if something is moving, so for example, if the aerofoil is moving, okay, it is flapping, it is going up and going down, okay, like a bird wing. So if I want to simulate the wing of a bird, bird is flying and I want to simulate the wing of a bird. So the bird's wing is flapping, okay. So at one instant of time, the aerofoil structure will be upward. In another instant of time, the aerofoil structure will be downward. So once it may be like this, and in another instance, it will be like this. So after every iteration, every time step, I have to calculate the new position of the wing, and then I have to generate the new mesh again. This is known as adaptive mesh generation. Okay, so this is easier in case of this type of unstructured grid. For structured grid, it will be too difficult. However, what is the main difficulty in using unstructured grid? It is difficult to implement. That's why when we write a code, we generally use rectangular type of grid structure because it is easier to implement the equations. Okay, discretization is easier in Cartesian coordinate system or in spherical or cylindrical coordinate system. Discretization is very difficult in unstructured grids. Okay, it is possible, but it leads to some errors. Okay, and less accuracy when compared to structured grid. As I have said, it leads to some errors. So this is an example of unstructured grid. So you can see that there is a structure, there is a grid here with 5 boundaries, 5 faces. Another one is a triangle. Then there are some quadrilaterals. Okay, so this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 neighboring points. However, this one has 1, 2, 3 neighboring points. So everything is arbitrary. So this is an example of unstructured mesh. Okay, like this. So I uploaded these materials in the portal. You can read about them. Okay, and you can expect some short questions from here also, like what is the difference between structured and unstructured grid, or what do we mean by orthogonal mesh, something like that. Obviously, no problems or other things. Okay, or draw an example of a orthogonal curvilinear mesh, something like that. So we have finished our course. Any questions? Anything regarding the project you want to ask?